Hello, everyone, and welcome to the exclusive premiere of Destination Fantastic Episode 1. I am Jason Azevedo, I am getting audio. Something's happening here. Here we go. Destination Fantastic, premiere of the first episode for all of you awesome backers out there. We've got a great show for you tonight. First of all, we're going to introduce the folks that are with us tonight, and then we're going to watch the actual premiere of Episode 1. And then after that, we're going to do a Q&A session, and you'll be able to ask Stefan, Satine, and Josh all the questions that you have regarding the show and the process of making the show and all of that wonderful stuff. If you have questions tonight, make sure that you post them in the chat on YouTube. Our wonderful moderators will capture those and then send them my way, and then I will pose them to our wonderful guests and cast tonight. Let's do some intros real quick. First of all, I am Jason from Realmsmith. We're happy to host tonight for the folks here, and we were also sponsored the Kickstarter event and all of that stuff. Really close friends of mine on screen today, and I'm super happy and super proud of what you guys have been able to do thus far. I'd like to introduce next Joshua Bishop, the director of the show. Josh, say hi.
What's up, guys? So happy to be here. So happy to have this thing ready for you guys to watch. And it's a momentous occasion. You know, a lot of hard work went into this, and you guys all helped us out greatly. So for that, we are eternally grateful. Also love to really quickly just give a shout out to Legion M, who have so graciously partnered with us. They're working with us to bring this thing out into the world, and more about that soon. Can't really give away too many details, but we are working closely with them. And as those details start to come to light, we shall share them with you.
Amazing.
That's about all I got. Maybe someone else wants to say something?
Yeah, and say hi to Satine Phoenix. How are you?
I'm Satine Phoenix. It's so good to see you again. Man, it's been so long. Professional story coach, entertainer, artist, Dungeons and Dragons fanatic. I can't wait to see this finished version. I haven't seen it yet, and I can't wait. I'm so excited to be here with, Stefan, Josh, and Jason, who I haven't seen in a million years. So, hello everyone out there. We'll be in chat. You know I'm going to participate. And yes, thank you. And meow, meow, meow.
Awesome. And Stefan Pagorni, say hi, buddy.
Hey everybody, I know it's been a while, it's been a journey. We're so thankful that you all had patience to follow us, but isn't it exciting? The team we have together here, and with Legion M aboard now, we're really doing good. We were for so long told not to say anything, but we finally are here, and we can finally show you this monumental episode. We shot a lot of blue screen. No. It's all live, man. We went there. We went into the... All right, no spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers.
No spoilers. We're going to watch the episode, and hopefully we're going to do more. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for backing us, for believing in us. What else should I say?
Stick around after the show, and for the Q&A, we'll be here to take any questions.
Stick around for the show. Everyone here has been so great. You guys have all been great. Satine's been great. Josh, everyone, my girlfriend, everybody, and whoa!
All right, good stuff. Let's not let them wait any longer. Without further ado, here's episode 1 of Destination Fantastic.
My name is Stefan Pagorni.
And I'm Satine Phoenix.
In 1996, I founded a company called Dwarven Forge. We've grown to be the world's premier miniature terrain company for games such as Dungeons and Dragons.
So while Stefan was busy pioneering the miniature terrain business, I was one of the very first people to live stream Dungeons and Dragons to the internet. Today we're friends, celebrity game masters, and we travel the globe together for inspiration.
Traveling the world to seek out the origins, tales, legends, and locations that inspired this amazing genre of fantasy to begin with.
Yeah!
Then putting it back into our craft.
We're in search of all things fantastical, and we're taking you with us.
Destination Fantastic!
Where are we going next?
Could it be if I pulled the sword from the stone, I would be the king of Iceland? Iceland has always captivated my mind. The Vikings, the Norse gods like Odin and Thor, the Icelandic sagas and literature, this stuff is about as epic as it gets. And so I thought, what better destination for us to start than Iceland, the land of fire and ice? Let me recount for you a tale of high adventure. I can't tell you how thrilled I was to be in Iceland. I'd heard incredible things about this country and couldn't wait to experience them firsthand. Jesus, is that lava? First, I was by myself because Satine had to do something very important in Michigan, Jasper's Game Day. Jasper's Game Day is a suicide prevention charity started by a young game master named Fenway Jones. After a friend of hers took his own life, she took action and started an event that has really gained some attention in the industry. So first, Satine went to Michigan to support Fenway Jones before meeting me in Iceland a few days later. And so far, this place was blowing my mind. Here we are at the waterfall called Gilfass, and legend has it that if you get too close, Nikur, the dark horse, will come up and drag you under the waves, and you'll be drowned in the waterfall. That is awesome. I couldn't wait for Satine to get there. So much to see, so much to learn, so many tales and origins. Take the word geyser, for example. It literally comes from this geyser that I was about to visit. Woo! That smell! A little sulfury. The name of the geyser is Geyser, but interestingly, the geyser that the word geyser literally comes from hardly ever erupts. Luckily for us, there's another geyser here, the Stroker Geyser, and it erupts every 6 or so minutes. Look at this texture here. The way this just cuts away and erodes. Then there's like a sprinkling of blue rock. This is great stuff. I would love to do a geyser for a Dwarven Forge. You have come to a geyser, but there's something suspicious about it, something you don't trust. How often did you say this thing blows? Whoa, whoa! Wow, look at that. Look at those mountains. They look like they go straight up to Valhalla. They go on forever. Like if you were to keep walking, if you were to walk up those mountains, you would just keep walking right into heaven. Cloud giants, frost giants. It's amazing. So far, Iceland was stunning, and I couldn't wait to see more of its beauty. But what I was equally excited about was learning more about the sagas and the tales. This is the Jarl Saga, the most famous saga in all of Iceland. The great dungeon master needs to learn about this stuff. I mean, the Icelandic sagas were such an inspiration to the early fantasy writers, so I was really excited to visit the Saga Center. I couldn't wait to learn more. I was reading Jarl Saga and I'm captivated already.
Yes.
There's no fighting going on yet.
Then you are just in the beginning.
Is there going to be some fighting?
Yes.
Yes.
Keep on reading.
Did it take place in this area?
Yes, we are about 20 kilometers from Lidarendi, where Gunnar used to live, and 20 kilometers from Bergþórshvol, where Njáll used to live.
Wow.
And they are the two main characters.
These sagas are so important to Icelanders because they are tales about Icelanders.
We were Icelanders, we were not Danish or Scandinavian. They were written in Icelandic, not in Latin or nothing. They are part of our soul.
So in short, the Icelanders had to create their own identity, and the sagas are uniquely Icelandic.
epic tales of man versus man, man versus the elements, survival and triumph. Niao Saga is the biggest, the longest, and the most popular.
A lot of revenge going on in the saga.
Yeah, it's all about revenge.
A tragic fate usually awaits the heroes, and Niao's was no different. He was burned alive with some of his family members in his very own home. It was brutal. It was epic. It was Viking stuff. And by Thor, I love me some Viking stuff.
All right, I'm ready to somebody up.
But not as much as these Viking reenactors.
The Vikings are so dear to our heart because it is a part of our history. It's our cultural heritage. It's, who we are.
Well, it might be who they are, but it's definitely not who I am. I decided to stick to what I do best. The creation of art.
It's been real nice being able to sit here and experience this Viking hall. I could hear the wind coming through the chimney, and I could just imagine the glistening of the axes and the swords. I could get a real sense of the textures of this hall. Must have been something else when they had sparks flying up out of the chimney. I was trying to capture in my drawing the sense of that deep dark and light. I think it came out okay. I never knew this is what Iceland would look like. My fantasy is running rampant in this landscape, getting all kinds of ideas for terrain.
After seeing a replica, I thought I'd go check out some real Viking ruins and arranged to meet this man, Einar, a local councilman and expert on the surrounding area. You see, here in this valley, archaeologists have uncovered over 25 authentic Viking ruins, an actual settlement.
Yeah, you can see how the wall is well preserved. That's because the volcano Hekla got a big eruption shortly after the 1100s, and the weather was covered with pumice and ash like Pompeii.
Just imagine, this whole valley was once teeming with Viking life until one day, life as everyone knew it was disrupted by a volcano.
This is another room.
Yeah, that was the toilet. And you can sit down and be together on the toilet. Talk.
All right, how are those cows doing?
Yeah,
Bigger. I hear that Brunhilde is taking a liking to Sven.
Oh, yeah, probably.
I think so.
Ah, the life of a Viking.
Jasper's Game Day was a total success. We helped Fenway raise over $12,000 for suicide prevention. Not bad for a 16-year-old girl from Michigan. I'm so proud of her. After that, it was off to meet Stefan.
I just left Detroit and I'm gonna close my eyes. I'm gonna wake up in a magical dream that is Iceland.
First observation, water.
Oh my God, those are houses hanging out with a bunch of waterfalls.
Talk about storytelling ideas. My mind was already spinning.
After driving through all of this, I kind of want to go and hang out on those black sand beaches with Stefan in the rain. I think that would be very appropriate for today. I'm actually really excited to be here.
Whoa, look at that. You know, there's signs everywhere saying don't get too close to the water because the sneaky wave will come and drag you into the ocean. And I'm looking at those people and they're standing real close. Look, it's gonna get them. Look, look, careful. Ah!
Njord is the Norse god of the wind and the waves, and you can feel his intensity on the beaches of Iceland. Over the years, he's claimed the lives of many people. These waters are beautiful, but beware.
I think Stefan's here somewhere. Stefan! Hey! Hey! We're in Iceland!
Isn't this amazing?
Oh my God, it's so
We
great.
made it.
This is a
Wow.
very dangerous place to meet up. We're a little too close to the water for my comfort.
Well, this is nothing. There's trolls around the corner. Look,
Oh my God.
see that? That's a troll.
Okay.
The Icelandic legend is that two trolls came out and they dragged a ship. They tried to drag a ship, but just then the sun came out and oh, they got turned to stone.
And there they are.
And there they still are, two trolls. That one actually looks like it's got a profile, doesn't it?
Striking a pose.
Yes.
Do you think they lived in this cave before it collapsed?
Probably lived in this cave and got sealed up by elven magic.
It's really cold and wet.
Wet.
I saw some pictures that you posted before I got here. I saw sunshine,
Yes.
and now I can't see out the window because it's so misty.
I enjoyed that misty ocean coast because I think it would have been less dramatic if it was the sun was shining and it was nice. Like,
I did not expect this.
how was Michigan?
Michigan was awesome. I was in Fenton, and Fenway raised $12,000, and she's only 16 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot
Yeah.
for a 16-year-old.
Yeah, well, she organized a bunch of different game stores all over the country.
She organized it.
She's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah. She's been a game master since she was 12.
Wow. Isn't it great when you watch kids play?
Yeah.
They take to it like so naturally. They're like, oh, I get it. This is make-believe.
And that's the cool thing about adults is when they start playing, they buy back into being a
come
kid.
back, and because right as we get older, we lose our make-believe.
A
We
lot
get
of
too
people
serious.
do. It's true.
We feel uncomfortable.
Speaking of fantasy, where are we going now?
The glacier!
The glacier!
We're going to glacier! In this weather, it's going to be dramatic. It'll be like seeking out Superman's hideout. We could spot a troll.
Your party comes to the crest of an icy mountain. Suddenly, from the distance, you hear a deafening roar. From over the hilltop appears an ice dragon. Its fiery breath threatens to incinerate the entire party. What do you do?
Oh my God, look at this. This is nuts. Hello.
Hello.
Do you see any frost giants out there?
So many.
We're the Troll Patrol. Troll Patrol coming through. Hello. Wow. It does look like it's coming down.
Wow.
Like it's cascading down into the...
Does anything live in the water?
That's what Gimli said.
The ice in Iceland covers 10% of the country's surface, and it's melting rapidly. We decided to come here to the Solheim-Jökull Glacier to not only witness more of Iceland's majestic beauty,
You might disturb the lake monster.
but also to see some of the effects of climate change firsthand.
So this glacier has retreated. Last 3 years, we're talking about 900 meters, almost 1 kilometer. Last year, we lost 110 meters.
So what we have here is absolute evidence that global warming is real.
Oh yeah,
I
indeed.
mean, we're seeing this.
Big changes here. Sometimes when I'm back to this glacier, I cannot recognize it anymore. Carry on, guys.
All right, onwards.
There's still plenty of ice in Iceland, but scientists estimate that if the climate keeps going the way it is, there won't be any ice left in this country in about 200 years.
I think this is great weather for a glacial walk. I'm just glad I didn't stick my tongue on the ice.
So how do you like this place? It's quite deep, right? This feature, we call it a crevasse. It's a French word.
Okay.
Yeah, so they can be really deep, like 15 to 20 meters deep. The problem is in winter, because they can be completely covered by snow, and we cannot see them. Yeah, we have to.
Oh, wow.
It's a trap.
Oh, it's a
attention
trap.
there.
Glacial trap.
Imagine this one, like a year ago, I cannot even put a finger in, so it was pretty narrow. And now, you can see it's really wide.
This is nuts. Getting any storytelling ideas?
I have storytelling ideas coming out of my ears right now.
I know. After spending a day on a black sand beach and then a freezing glacier, we decided to try some authentic Viking food.
So this is the Icelandic starter plate. I'll explain to you which is what. So this one here is fermented shark. Over here we have sheep testicles. These two pieces here are made from stomach of the sheep. They put blood in this one and liver in this one, so it's like blood pudding and liver pudding.
Does he have to tell us what part?
Great. This one here is from pork. It's from the brain. It's like a jelly.
Oh.
So this one here is Icelandic ribread. It's made underground with butter. And then this is Icelandic snaps called brennivin or Black Death.
Black Death! Now we're talking.
So enjoy.
Okay, well, I know you don't want to eat brains. You eat my fish, I'll eat your brains.
That's the sweetest thing. All right, so where do we start? Cheers. It's like on a... let's see the testicles.
Yes! Okay.
Did you eat the testicle?
Yes, I had a sliver.
Okay.
Blood sausage.
Okay.
You like it?
No.
No, okay.
No.
All right. This one?
All right, ready? 1,
Ready, 3.
2, 3. Did you pretend to eat it?
Can we get more of this shot? What is this called?
It's the death.
Can we get more death?
Okay, let's eat the rib and we'll move on. All right, ready?
Rib?
Rib.
Okay, this I can do. Woo!
Yeah, it's like lamb rib.
That was, wow, what we lived through.
All right, so here we have your main course. Sorry. So here we have sheep head. Most of the meat is here in the chin. And then, of course, the eyeball is the best part.
The eyeball is the best part.
Yes.
There's teeth, and it's smiling.
Because it's happy. I double dare you. One of the things that we had heard so much about was that people who actually believe in magical creatures like elves, fairies, and trolls were not that uncommon here in Iceland. So obviously, we wanted to know more. We were introduced to this woman, Ragnhildur, who's known as an elf whisperer, someone who can actually communicate with the magic beings, elves, trolls, and the enigmatic hidden people, or Huldurfolk as they call them in Iceland. We needed to know more, and Ragnhildur was kind enough to speak with us.
All my life, I've been in contact with elves and Huldurfolk and different beings of other dimensions. But for some reason, the elves really wanted me to work with them. They said, if we are going to live on this planet, this beautiful planet, Mother Earth, we really need to work together. And there is actually no time to spare. We have to do it now. And we have to work together, all the different species, all the different dimensions. And it's just the humans that are not really behaving, you know. Yeah. And we just need to do something about it.
Okay, so working together to save the environment does not sound that crazy to me at all. But what is it about Iceland that makes it to where magic creatures would only live here? Well, according to Ragnhildur, they don't only live here.
All around the world, there are nature beings, where nature is undamaged. Here in Iceland, maybe we are still connected to them because nature is so much alive that you can't deny it. I mean, you have an earthquake or you have a volcano. So you know that nature is...
I get that. This is like one of the last stands. Over 50% of the Icelandic population will not deny the existence of nature beings. And if they don't believe... That's a tree. That's a tree. These are trees. Okay. There's still a reverence and a respect. A lot of them seem to live in the rocks.
Here lives Frode. He is an elf and he's 900 years old. And his name is an old Icelandic or Nordic name that means someone who knows many things. I would think that Tolkien, for instance, got the name Frodo from this old Nordic name.
Whether or not these beings are real seemed irrelevant. What's important is what they represent. That was amazing.
Didn't know what to expect, but I didn't expect to feel so much love. Whether you believe in this or not, you have to open your heart. Otherwise, you close yourself off to a lot of things. We're lucky that we have somebody like her who can translate that for us.
I see them as a representation of nature. They are the last stand of nature, and they're in the trees, they're in the grass. To me, it's a metaphor of the natural world.
And the natural world is where we were headed next.
Well, I guess the volcano is that way.
How about this Mount Doom looking thing? It's the Threath-Nukagiger volcano, and there's no other volcano like it on the planet.
3, 2.
Oh, God.
Let's go inside the volcano, guys.
You can actually descend into it from the top. And that's what we were here to do. After all, the elves live in the rocks.
But what makes this place very special, this is the only place in the whole world where the magma chamber, it's kept open after the eruption.
Are there hidden people down here?
Of course there are. Elves and trolls, this is a serious issue for us here in Iceland, as you know. So, but you have to believe to see them.
Gotta believe.
Yeah.
Wow.
More than half of the Icelandic nation believes.
Did you hear that? More than half.
Like there was a lady here who could speak to the trolls, and they said that the elves are not happy with the lighting inside.
Oh.
So we had to change the lights. We had to say this like a film or a cover over the lights, and she said now the elves are much happier with the lighting. Here we are.
Yay!
Your party enters a vast cavern. Suddenly, an electrifying presence is felt, and the hairs on the back of everyone's neck stands up straight. You turn to see the most beautiful creature you've ever beheld appear from the rocks. What do you do?
After traveling around here, I feel like I understand about the trolls and the elves and the hidden people a lot more. When you're outside of Iceland, everything is theory and it's an idea, but when you're here, you can smell it, you can feel it in the earth. Everything makes sense.
Do you believe?
I don't not believe.
So the volcano which we're standing in is called Threath-Nukagigur. Broken down, that just means three-peak crater. First person that came down here, he was actually quite disappointed because he couldn't see all the colors that you're seeing today. All he had on his head was a headlight.
Wow.
So it was only after about 20, 30 years when he came back here again, when this whole operation was set up, he actually stood in amazement just like you are.
That's awesome.
Since it was very hot immediately after the eruption, all the gases that were present over time actually baked themselves into the walls. So that gives us all the different colors that we see around us.
Oh, amazing colors. Look at that wall. What do you think that is? Ochre? And then look at that dark charcoal.
Dark,
color.
burned.
A
So
myriad
warm.
of colors.
There's nothing like natural color.
In the cavern, you find an ancient altar. Set upon its surface is a scroll. The mysterious writings speak of Thor, Odin, and of the frost giants looking down from the mountains. Pagan customs and the worship of Norse gods used to be the norm in Iceland, but in the year 1000, in a democratic vote, the nation decided to become Catholic, and it happened here at Thingvellir.
Beauty is sacred, and sanctity is beautiful. The old religion was all about unity and keeping things in harmony and balance.
This is Hilmar Ern Hilmarsson, the high priest of a pagan religion known as Asatru, and he is also a highly celebrated musician in Iceland. Hilmar and a small group of others spawned a movement.
We just became very Icelandic, and that is what I think fueled what was to come with the sugar cubes and Björk and Sigurós, just being us.
A lifetime of spiritual belief and dedication to music has made him a national celebrity, and we couldn't imagine a better tour guide to Iceland's most sacred place than Hilmar.
Here we are at the heart of Iceland. This is where we kept everything going for hundreds of years. I mean, this is the oldest parliament in the world. And this became a meeting place, a marketplace, a place where people would settle disputes and basically figure out what had happened in the last year and planning what would happen in the next. Even after the conversion to Christianity, we used the pagan model as a model for the parliament. And it worked until we lost our independence in the 13th century. I think we should go down to the flagpole and see the law rock. Yeah.
While Iceland was still independent, it was divided into 4 sections, each with 9 chieftains.
For centuries, this has been known as a law rock, which was where the 36 high chieftains would convene. People would assemble in June. They would have 146 people with them. And then you would have hundreds and hundreds of people around them. So this was a really crowded place. Why was this spot chosen? Some people have talked about acoustics. Other people have actually come up with this idea that this triangle formation in the rocks over there looks like a piece of very sacred geometry, like the Pythagorean triangle.
Oh, yeah.
So this was therefore an ideal place. It may be true, it may not be true, but it's certainly beautiful and makes poetic sense.
When they decided to have the assembly here, they felt the need for a waterfall. So they manually diverted the course of the river to create one.
People have theorized that the waterfall had to be there for shamanic purpose, that you go and seek prophecy by the waterfall. So the waterfall had a ritualistic function, and then the water came down here.
Yes, this actually looks like a portal to the Fey realm.
Yeah, I think it's a portal. It's a sacred spot, and in Japan, in Shinto, a beautiful place becomes a sacred place. I mean, I always feel that when I get here.
Beautiful place.
This is the divide between the tectonic plates of the Americas here, and here is Europe. So it's a small divide.
That's one continent, this is another continent.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
You're now in 2 continents.
Yeah.
How poetic is it that this place where 2 continental plates collide has been bringing people together for centuries?
The only nation in the world that produced more medieval manuscripts than Iceland is France. And a rich part of Icelandic history seems to be the act of storytelling itself. So we went to Reykholt, the ground zero of the Icelandic saga, so we could visit the Snorri Sofa Cultural Research Center and to learn more about Snorri Sturluson.
He is apparently the man, and we're gonna find out all about him. It's gonna be fantastic for the brain. Yes, we'll learn a lot.
He was a very powerful, albeit wealthy politician in 13th century Iceland. But what he really was one of the most important writers the fantasy genre has ever known. Because of his works like the Heimskringla Law, Egil's Saga, and others, he's credited with up to 60% of what we know about Vikings today. And many of those sagas were written here, where his fortress once stood.
So welcome to Snorrastova. This portal is the entrance to our exhibit. Here above are the dragons, and the dragons are for protection.
What we were most interested in was learning about this book, the Prose Edda. Its influence on the fantasy genre and the game of Dungeons and Dragons has been immeasurable.
And this is the Prose Edda. Stories about the gods, Odin and Thor and the rest of these guys. Who were they? What did they do? What were their specialities, their powers, and how did they live? In my belief, most of this is his own fantasy and his own creation, but is inspired by old oral stories that had been passed down through centuries in the north, and also by older poetry.
It sounds like he had a really good understanding of communication and how important story is in trying to teach history.
In 1235, when Snorri wrote the Prose Edda, the Catholic Church had already been in power for over 200 years and was doing its best to make people forget these stories of Norse mythology. Up until that point, these stories had only been told orally, but even though Snorri was a good Catholic himself, he understood how important the tales were, and so he wrote the Prose Edda to create a lexicon of Norse mythology to be utilized by future generations. Odin, Thor, you get it.
The Lord of the Rings is basically based on this book.
His immense political power eventually resulted in a civil war, which resulted in Iceland being handed over to King Haakon of Norway.
Everybody else is sent away from the fortress, so he knew that the end was near, and he's ready to meet his destiny. He dies here on a basement floor, just 62 years old.
I read a little something about that incident. The exact words they've recorded, where he says, "Don't strike," and then boom, they struck him down.
Yeah. What we believe here in this house is that he said, "Thou shalt not kill," and that he died as a good Catholic. not a man that was begging for
I
mercy.
think you were right.
Yes, because don't strike is that you're begging for
cowardly.
mercy.
It's
Yes,
very
very cowardly. Nothing was worse for a man in the medieval time than to be a coward.
Art and politics don't usually go hand in hand, but the gods seem to have made an exception for Snorri.
So I'm going to show you Snorri's pool.
Wow. Snorri's pool.
Yeah, it's a shame we don't have our bathing clothes with. We could hop in.
Wow.
This is not a replica. This is the real thing. This is the oldest original bathing pool in Scandinavia, at least.
Wow.
And when he had men visiting, he would ask them to join him in the pool, where they would sit and have a glass of wine and discuss the politics of the day.
Wow. Deals and politics
Yes.
got made in this pool.
Exactly.
This is the entrance to a tunnel, and since it's the only thing on the grounds that resembles a basement, they think it was there that he was murdered.
Secret passageways. I love it.
We have no other records of a basement than this one, so this could be the place that he was murdered. Before that, he would use this passage for getting quickly out to his pool. This, of course, would also be an escape route from the fortress.
A narrow escape passage.
Yes.
Wow. I love it.
Because these were disturbing times.
Art reflects life, and so it seems fitting that a poet whose own life was so epic is responsible for giving us these works.
So the tunnel continues here,
tunnel.
and here beneath is the secret entrance.
Ah.
We needed to pay our respects to this master storyteller, this wizard.
Now we're going over to Snorri's grave, or where we believe that he is buried.
All of us storytellers, we all have to thank this man. He's sort of like the first dungeon master.
You might say that, yes.
Storyteller. Snorri Sturluson.
Yes.
Wow.
It's not every day that you get to visit the grave of a man responsible for so much.
I mean, wasn't that inspiring, what we saw today?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so excited to run a game on a glacier, basalt, black sand beaches, so much stuff we saw that we can incorporate into this game. Welcome, everybody! Greetings!
Yay!
Thank you for coming. We're gonna play some Dungeons and Dragons. Yay! Action-packed game.
My name is Gisle Einarsson. I'm the owner of Nexus, which is the biggest game shop in Reykjavik, Iceland. I opened my first shop in 1992, which is about 27 years ago, and I've been doing this ever since. This is the biggest version of my shop so far.
You can move 6 squares because you have very heavy armor.
We've only been here 5 months, so we're trying to figure out how we're going to use all this space to basically promote even more social gaming.
A terrible troll lives in a geodesic cave, and I need people to go with me.
The gaming community in Iceland, it's probably the strongest it's ever been. Any kind of game where there's a social factor
Everybody roll a 10-sided die for initiative.
has just exploded in the last 10 years.
You see me standing there, kind of in the back, stare at you. I'm a bit guarded, just kind of eyeing you.
The biggest factor here is that we're really good in English. We can pick up English stuff and we can absorb it very fast. This has helped enormously, especially the role-playing games where you have to read a bit of text and you have to absorb all these ideas. But then again, we have our cultural heritage. We're well-versed in all the stories about the Vikings and the Viking gods.
I'm going to walk to the bow of the ship and pray to Thor for good luck on our voyage. We are so far out, we might run into the Midgard serpent. It is huge and it coils itself all around the world, biting its own tail.
I prefer analog gaming myself. I prefer gaming with a group of people. People do a lot of gaming online, and there is a big social factor in online gaming, but you can become isolated. Meeting other people face to face, I think that's a necessary factor. It's always easy, just take a few hours to do a game. Here are some guys playing Warhammer. This type of gaming has been the same for over 30 years, which is great. The only difference is that everything is more sophisticated. We're not using metal models anymore, it's mostly plastic. But the rules, the tactics, the experience of putting together the armies and doing the model work and painting them, it's been unchanged for 30 years. And I think that's really interesting, that they can sustain this kind of gaming in the digital age.
You land on a black sandy beach with velvety black dunes and a cold howling wind is upon you.
So a normal beach.
Beautiful day that it is in Iceland. I shall gaze upon your black sandy shore and be humble.
Obviously, the tourism has changed a lot here in Iceland. We basically went almost bankrupt in the big crash about 10 years ago, and people were really afraid. Everybody was really worried that we wouldn't be able to import stuff, that the currency would have no value. So we started building tourist infrastructure like crazy, and it became a gold rush. They're doing all the tours and everything, and people are starting to worry that tourism will slow down a little bit and then the economy will start cooling. Nobody knows how sustainable this whole thing is, but we've had a very good run now for several years.
Here you see the waterfalls. There, then you spot the troll. Big 10-foot tall green troll.
There's a lot of ways we can go in the next 10, 15, 20 years. It's impossible to say completely. But then again, I'm always optimistic about the future of Iceland. It's an amazing country. You maybe won't make a lot of money, but you can do whatever you like.
Oh my God, you find all this treasure. It's over there.
The whole culture is based on not telling you have to be in this box or that box, which is a huge privilege, I think.
And that's it, folks. For a country that has such an ancient history, very little remains in the way of ancient architecture. The early settlers built in wood, not stone, and basically cleared the land of a lot of its forests. So except for some ruins, a few of which I visited earlier, there's very little actual old stuff left in Iceland. I heard that's Leif Erikson. One thing does remain, however, the stories. And by that I mean the actual books themselves, the old stuff. And those are kept here at the Arni Magnusson Institute for Icelandic Studies. Our mission to Iceland was almost over, but on our last day we were invited to see some of these ancient manuscripts. It's a vault. He went in and now he's gone.
There are so many keys.
This was going to be an interesting day to say the least.
Okay, so I want to show you 3 very special books. So the first one here, we don't usually use gloves because that gives less sensitivity to the touch and more danger of an accident. So we just wash our hands very nicely and use those. And of course we try not to touch the letters themselves, just the margins here. So the first one here is the oldest saga fragment we have, and it's a fragment of Egil's saga. King Harald Fairhair is conquering Norway and being a tyrant, and so the ancestors of the Icelanders escape to Iceland to keep their freedoms and to flee from the oppressive king. So they found a republic in Iceland. The saga tells of Egil killing lots of people, but also composing lots of poetry.
Killing people while composing poetry. Sounds like a true Renaissance Viking.
So here we have a manuscript containing both the prose Edda and the poetic Edda. So this is one is very special. It's from the 17th century. So you can see the Eddas are not just a medieval thing. They continued being copied century after century. And this one is particularly nice because it has these illustrations showing the gods. So here's Loki in disguise as the giantess Thök.
He looks like he's wearing like face paint.
Oh yeah, so Loki is really handing it up here in drag.
This is Loki?
Yeah, this is Loki dressed as a giantess. This is Thor with his hammer and his baggy pants, I guess.
I pictured Thor's hammer to be bigger.
These books were filling us with so much joy, but I honestly don't think we were prepared for what was about to hit us. The Codex Regius.
So here we come to a very special book. This is the Codex Regius of the Prose Edda. So the most complete copy we have of Snorri Sturluson's Edda. We have no older copy of the Prose Edda.
Did you hear that? The absolute oldest copy in existence of the Prose Edda, the Codex Regius. This copy was produced in the mid-13th century.
There's no older copy.
So cool.
Not of the Eddas. Over there we had the oldest fragment of Icelandic saga, so this is the oldest Eddic.
This is blowing my mind.
I can't even handle all the emotions right now. This is like the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Centuries of knowledge passed down from this very book.
The Eddas have the names of the dwarves which Tolkien used in his stories. And we have them right here on this page. So, Nýi niði, norðri, suðri, austri, vesti, alþjófur, Dvalinn. Dvalinn is one, you know. He's right here, old Dvalinn. And you also have here Bumbur, Nóri, familiar.
Bumbur.
And then we have Vigr og Gandalfur. So Gandalf is right here, and he's a dwarf.
Gandalf is a dwarf?
Gandalf was a dwarf all along, can you believe it?
Whoa! I'm geeking out.
Go ahead, touch the edge.
I touched
He touched the edge. He touched the book. He touched the Codex Regius of the Prose
Codex
Edda.
Regius.
There you are.
Hearing those words read from that book was an unexpectedly moving experience.
I mean, just think about it. Think about how many people have even seen that.
That book inspired Tolkien, inspired so many writers, and then those inspired Gygax, inspired us, inspired generations of people. That was something else. You know, I got shivers.
I am gonna write so much on the airplane.
Amazing trip. As storytellers, this trip to Iceland has been better than we could ever have imagined. Seeing those places that inspired so much of what we're about. Whoa, whoa! What we've lived our whole lives to become has been truly inspirational. What we've seen is a resilient nation who were able to take a volcanic island and make it a thriving country. We've seen a people with a respect and a reverence for nature. And finally, we saw a tome that inspired our most epic fantasies.
You and your party have returned safely to the village, enlightened by your journey. You part ways and vow to see each other again on your next adventure.
All right, welcome back. That was incredible. What an honor it is to have hosted the first ever exclusive full version of episode 1. Before we get into questions, I'd love to go around. Obviously, Satine's full of emotion over this, and obviously it was an incredibly impactful experience for all of you. I'd love, now that you've seen it after, some time after recording it and all the time it took to put it together, I'd love to get your guys' original thoughts, having seen it now for the first time in its finality. Let's start with Josh or Satine. Yeah, let's start with Satine.
It's like one of the coolest experiences of my whole life, and it's so cool to see here. And it's funny because there's so much that didn't go into it. Like so many things that didn't go into this, but that moment when we, like, as a storyteller, being able to not only see the Codex Regius and the Prose Edda, but to touch it and to just like how many only handfuls of people have been able to see that, and like I can't help but like be humbled, and just so appreciative that Ron and Josh like made all of this happen. I mean, Stefan and I are storytellers, but the production team really made our fantasy dreams come true by putting this together for us and allowing us to be a part of it.
So amazing.
I found the best places. That thing came out of a vault. It was a round vault like Fort Knox.
Yeah, remember that guy? He was very...
Yeah, it was scary. We were all very scared at first.
That guy, I had to, before we were able to bring the camera crew in, I had to go in and talk to that guy for like 45 minutes because he had to make sure that we weren't like a bunch of clowns. Like the holiness of those that's like the that book that you saw. They basically consider it, that's their Mona Lisa. That's like the Mona Lisa of Iceland. It's literally like the most priceless item in that country. you know. So he was like, he was not nice at first. He was like your worst high school professor. Like he was that level of like strict.
Yeah.
And then it took him a second to kind of like figure out, okay, these people are for real. And then he had to go and he had to talk to the head of the institute. And then even though we'd already had all these clearances and we were there ready to shoot, it had to happen again, you know?
Wow.
Didn't he play D&D like as a kid?
Didn't he told you guys that later? Yeah. Like, didn't he whisper that to you or something, Stefan? Didn't he kind of like, he loosened up?
At some point he was like, oh yeah, I've played D&D, you know? Yeah.
So great. So good. Stefan, how did you feel seeing that for, again, the first time since you'd been there in its finality?
Oh, the show?
Yeah.
I forgot a lot of it. So last time I saw it was like a year ago. I don't know. So it was, wow, I remember, you know, it came out pretty good.
It was pretty good.
I'd say it was probably fantastic, actually.
We should do more. We should do more of these.
Yes.
Now, Josh, you've been in the cutting room and the editing room and all that kind of stuff. How do you feel now, having seen it with an audience of real, actual people?
You know, I just what it just dawned on me is what you have to understand is that I physically cut this myself too. Like I edited this.
Awesome.
And I'm not saying that to get like kudos. I'm just saying that like I had to be in the trenches with this material, and the essence was to show the origins of the fantasy genre. But when you're shooting and when you're editing, you're just like, you've got your fingers crossed. You're just like, man, I hope that we're getting it. I hope that this is happening. And then I think watching it now, and guys, I've seen this 1,000 times. Obviously, I cut this, but watching it now, it was like, man, I think that we did it. Like, I actually feel like the thing came across. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, and it's interesting to watch your work with an audience, even though I can't see any of you guys out there.
Yeah.
I can still feel it. You know what I mean? I can feel that people were watching it. So
that's awesome. All right, let's get to some questions. We got a bunch here. And again, if you have any questions, make sure that you write correct question in capital letters in the chat, and our awesome moderators will pass them through to me, and we'll make sure that they get asked. All right. The first question is from Lion Blaze for Stefan. Was it always clear where your first destination was going to be, or was there a lot of debate?
Oh man, you know that's a long and winding history. We actually went to a lot of places, and we kept saying, no, this isn't the right one. Finally, like, we shot a bunch of stuff. I went to Hawaii. We went to New Zealand. We went. Finally, really, like, look, listen, Iceland is the origins. Like Josh said, listen, really, for the most epicness, Iceland is where it all begins. And I was like, it's cold there, isn't it? You know, but we buckled down and we did it.
Yeah.
And I was amazed. I was so happy we did it.
Awesome.
There was talk of going to, for a while, we decided that we were going to go to New Zealand for the pilot, but then it turned out that, so we shot this in May, but in May in New Zealand, that's when their winter begins. So their days were super short.
Right.
And to be able to do this, we needed long days. So
yeah.
It just didn't make sense to do it in New Zealand as much as we wanted
to do that. We still like to go to New Zealand.
Yeah, we definitely are hoping to.
Those, you know, it's a great place. Just that was not the right time.
Yeah.
Right.
Right on.
And honestly, Stefan and I early on had decided Iceland. You know, let's start with the Vikings. But then somehow New Zealand kind of started to overshadow that and was like, no, let's go to New Zealand. And then the Vikings slowly but surely made their way back into
so good.
You wanted the Vikings bad.
It's so good. No, great choice.
Dozens of destinations that we wanted to.
Yeah, I bet. Follow Me and Die asks, other than COVID-19, what were the biggest challenges getting to this point? And I'm assuming, obviously, this was filmed pre-COVID, but even like production and stuff, like what were some of the biggest challenges that you guys faced up to this point?
Let me. So basically, this whole thing had to be produced remotely. Obviously, we don't live in Iceland.
Yeah.
We worked with a production company in Iceland who were amazing. But I just had all these thoughts like, you know what? I think we should go see if we can find the Codex Regius. So making that happen was honestly all we really had to do was send an email.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And those people responded. And it was, I guess the challengers really were much more in the shooting of the thing. Like we didn't know that we were in the car probably most of the shoot. Like to get from one place to the next, it would be like 2.5 to 3 hours. And that's like 2.5 to 3 hours of your day.
Sure.
There was a lot of road tripping. Yeah.
So we were just constantly, we had to shoot this whole thing in, I think we shot like 5 days. Like I can't even remember how many days that it was, but it wasn't enough. So we were just all exhausted.
Yeah,
and
I
also
bet.
not to mention the fact that it was really cold and windy, and the wind's in the rain in your face, like basically all the time.
It's so cold. Like you can kind of see it in the show where like hair is all over the place. But like I have some behind the scenes photos and we are just like sopping with rain and wind. And there's a part where we're coming out. We exit the volcano and are on the trek back because that was 45 minutes to an hour. And the wind is blowing so hard, you're like leaning into it face first. Can't see 5 feet in front of you. And there's like this really cute image of Stefan and all you can see is his like face like that big. We can't even hear each other. We're just like, there's got to be an end to this trail somewhere. And it's not just us. The camera guys are wearing the camera and all the gear, and the sound guys have their gear.
Mike Gomes carrying that heavy camera that whole way. Like, I didn't think we were going to make it. Like, I thought it was going to be a rescue mission to pick us up from the volcano.
Yeah.
There's
It was
no
intense.
path there except this super long trek with the wind howling in your face. Like, oh my God.
It's amazing.
Camera, our technical crew, Mike Gomes, our DP, and Marco, our second cameraman, all of our crew members were phenomenal. All of the crew members in Iceland, like we sourced a lot of local crew members. Everyone was amazing. So
That's awesome.
It was rough, but we did it.
That's great. Question from Major Zip. What was your favorite and least favorite part of that unique spread? And I'm assuming she's talking about the food that you ate. Most favorite and least favorite. Satine, you first.
That shark is gross. Testicles, not so good.
Yeah.
But the sheep face, like it's looking at you. I mean, and it's kind of got this like grin, so it's like it's the worst. That's the worst. But there was a lot of bad on that plate.
So not a lot of good.
You ate the eyeball, didn't you?
We did, but I didn't put it in the episode.
That's great.
That's how
I
gross
hate
it
you,
was.
Josh.
Stefan, what was your least favorite and most favorite part of that food?
Dude, I drank a lot. I did a lot of drinking. I was like, bring me another pint. I drank a lot, and we did shots, and I don't really remember what I ate. But it was
it's not
awful. Like,
I mean, it is worth.
I'm a very picky eater.
That's great.
It is worth mentioning though that that's not like.
When we first decided to go to Iceland, the first thing I said to Josh was, listen, I'm not eating any of that weird stuff, okay? And he's like, oh, no, you won't, don't worry. I'm like, I'm serious, I'm not going to eat any shark or anything like that, okay? He was like, no, okay, you won't have to do it. And then I had to do it twice. There's a whole other eating shoot that we did that he didn't even use in the episode.
Oh,
The
that's so
fermented
good.
shark gets into your existence and in your pores, and it doesn't go away.
Oh,
and
man.
it's just like it wafts, and even that death juice doesn't make it stop.
But it is worth mentioning to say that that's like a class. Those are classic like Viking dishes. It's not like Icelanders just eat this stuff on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Like we did.
Oh, there were Icelanders at the other tables laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Here comes some tourists trying to eat that stuff again.
That's good.
The food you guys didn't see was there was a base camp at the volcano, and they just kind of send tourists in there. But they make this lamb stew that was probably the best soup stew I've ever had in my entire life.
Really?
That was good. That's what I want to eat.
Patch Q asks, what did the cast crew... no, I'm lying. That wasn't... Lance S asks, Josh, did you try any of the food and what did you think?
I tried a little bit. I didn't do the same stuff that Stefan and Satine did, but I tried that lamb face. It looks gross, but it just tastes like lamb. It's just lamb meat. It's just what it is. It's getting past the fact that it's on a face.
You gotta cover its eyes.
But I ate the shark. I did eat the shark. I didn't eat the testicles or anything like that.
Right on. Lauren Blanco Q asks, has that book been reprinted?
Yes, many times. It's the prose edda. So it's basically studied by every, J.R. Tolkien studied that book. Like anyone who studies literature studies that book. But what you saw in the episode is the oldest physical copy in existence.
Wow.
Like there is no older, literally on the face of this earth, there is no older printing of that word Gandalf in existence anywhere. You just saw on there,
Wow.
You saw the oldest printed, well, it's not even printed, handwritten version of those words. So
it's amazing.
It's on sheepskin too.
Yeah.
They would
not sheepskin, it's vellum, so it's calf skin.
Wow.
Calf skin.
Wow.
Isn't this calf a sheep?
No.
No?
Question for Stefan. Major Ziff asks, can we get more details about the adventure you ran for the group at the gaming store?
Yeah, we weaved it together. I made it like very similar to the Holy Adventures. And then it's at one point, which you didn't show in the film, Josh comes up to me and whispers in my ear. He says, "Kill them all." And he talked to me about this. We need some excitement. You need some excitement in the second. And then he came up to me real evil, like halfway through. He said, "Kill them all."
That's great.
And so then I had the troll come out and like rip everyone's heads off, and it was bloody, and they were taken aback by it, I think, and they're like, "What the hell?" And I was like, I had to do it, And then thankfully he edited that out of the episode because I was like, that doesn't make me seem really nice, like.
So good.
Cut out the massacre at the end, and it's nice because they were really good role players and they're really cool and nice people. And the ending part, I think, was kind of like threw them for a bit of a loop.
It's awesome. This is more of a question for everyone. Where did the idea from the show come from?
It's Josh's idea.
So Stefan and I know a lot of you guys know, we made a film called The Dwarvenaut, and we shot a lot of it in Italy. And I don't know if some of you, I'm sure, own the DVD. There is a DVD extra, which is basically just a little mini documentary of Stefan in Italy. So Stefan and I, we had so much extra material over that I was like, dude, we should make a little mini documentary as a DVD extra. And then when we cut it, I kind of was like, man, we could keep doing this because I just found it to be so fascinating and entertaining. To like watching, one of my favorite things on the planet is to watch Stefan marvel at things. It's so fun. And so Stefan and I kind of simultaneously were just like looked at each other and were like, we should make a TV show. And so that episode, that little 10-minute mini documentary, which is on the DVD, that's kind of what inspired it. And then one thing led to, we just kept the wheels turning. It took us probably about 3 years before we could finally get it together to make this pilot. And then hopefully this will lead to a larger thing,
We're still trying. We're still trying to make it.
But I think that this really is a great proof of I think it'll happen. Like, I'm very optimistic by this, you know.
Yeah.
This is as optimistic as we've come. This is as close as we've come. We're just about there.
It's great. Lauren says, all I've been thinking about during COVID is where I want to travel to when we can travel again. This was like a vacation in my living room.
Yay!
And I mean, that's what I guess the heart of the show is, right? Is to take folks to fantastic places that will inspire and, you know, the storytelling aspect of especially Dungeon Masters and all that kind of stuff.
There are also a lot of fantastic places in America. And that's, you know, we may also because of the pandemic, we may just find a lot of fantastical, wonderful fantasy type geeky places that people like us love in America, because America is like 50 countries in one, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you might do it right. We might do a little mixture of far away and also close to home. We don't know.
That's
We don't
great.
know.
That's great. Heath
Depends
Farndon.
also on who picks up the show, you know. We don't know.
Yeah, it's true. Heath asked, "Are you recording this right now? This is gold for the extras on a DVD." And yes, this is being recorded. That is absolutely the case. He also said, "This looks like you had an incredible adventure. When does your DM let you level up?" And do you guys feel like after going on these adventures that you've leveled up in life? As you said, Satine, this was a life-changing experience for you.
I
got a lot of experience.
Can I mention something? It always was kind of in the back of my mind. I wanted it to feel like Stefan and Satine were on an adventure, like they were like, but it was a real life one, and kind of drawing the parallel on that like role playing world and how.
Yeah, Josh was the DM. Josh was the DM.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
We're the players.
How tempted were you guys to pick his pocket for the vault key? It says. That's a question from Heath.
Oh, trust me, jokes were made.
There's no getting in there.
Yeah.
There's no getting in there.
What if Stefan, like afterwards, Stefan and I made a lot of jokes. Like, what if I were to just have lit that book on fire? What do you think would have happened? What would have happened if I would have just picked that book up and torn
Lightning, Thor's lightning.
I did not make those jokes.
You did not make those jokes? You can vouch for that?
No.
Water MKE says.
You did.
Water MKE says, that was a fantastic episode. Took me right back to being in Iceland a few years ago and made me want to go back even more than ever.
It's a magical country.
Yeah,
it was like when we were coming out of the woman's home that she was showing us, telling us about the elves and the Hildefolk, and we actually met a troll. That was pretty cool. We met a troll with a red dress. But we were driving back out and remember staring at the landscape. Just the whole place is humbling. It's so rich and full of imagination that it looks like one of the mountain ranges is gonna kind of shake off the trees and the snow and the dirt off its back and just fly away. And we just kept talking about that. Like, this place is more than real and unreal.
It was the closest thing to a Dr. Seuss landscape in existence.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
It made you believe in fairy tales. There was always mist and waterfall, and everything looked like it had just been born. You know?
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Wendy Lord said you should do a show based in Lake Geneva.
Yeah.
We've shot in Lake Geneva. We've shot at Gary Con twice.
You can actually see it on our YouTube.
Yep.
Yeah. There's more tiers. Lots more tiers.
We went to Gary Gygax's house. Satine, Stefan, and myself went to Gary Gygax's house and shot like a little 10-minute episode there that you can find online. It's pretty.
I think it's on the Destination Fantastic website or the Facebook.
And
we even ran into some other people. No
Spoilers.
Yeah. Lauren asks, where are Satine and Stefan going next?
Where are we going?
Where are we going, Josh?
I think the next place that we would probably go would be New Zealand. That would probably be the next.
Yeah, for sure. And Heath had said that given the awesome nature and history of the Prozetta, to me, it's a no-brainer that this is the first episode. Awesome. And it sounds like that was absolutely the case.
By the way, I want to say that what what I was just talking, like Stefan and I were just making jokes, no irreverence about the book whatsoever. So please don't think that we were like.
No, of course not.
Very gracious. That was
that was an incredible experience, and you could literally feel some weird, like, it was like the hair on the back of my neck was standing up.
I didn't stop crying till a half hour through the drive back. I could not stop.
Yeah, it's true.
And this is actually a couple questions for myself. The first one is, we use a lot of Dwarven Forge terrain in our live streams, of course. And Satine, we've played before and been on so many streams and DM'd so many games. Yeah. Where do you guys, other than obviously where you went on this trip and what's encapsulated in this episode, where do you guys draw the most of your inspiration from throughout your life experience?
For me, doing kind of what we did is I travel a lot. I've been traveling since I was 17, and every time I go to a new country, I hike. I love backpacking and hiking and camping. I can't stop my imagination from just taking something visual and just making a story about it. And I'll be hiking for an hour and a half. 30 stories I've already invented. Someone will say something and I'm just like, there's a story. So I take it from everything around me.
Stefan?
The same with me. Traveling. Ever since I was adopted, they took me to Europe. I traveled all over Europe and, all kinds of places. And yeah, you meet new people, you see new places, and that stimulates your brain, your fantasy. And reading is also good. But you put reading with traveling together, that's a double dose,
Also, we're both artists, and we're both classically trained artists. Right. And what they teach you in art school is how to look. So all you do in school is look at things and take inspiration from, the basalt that we saw, like those big black rocks that were in there. Like, you can't help but see dragon scales in the bottom of that cave, so as artists, like, it is just in our blood.
The sketchbooks, bringing the sketchbooks, and Satine has a digital. She's a little younger than me, and so she's the new school of art, and she does everything digitally, and I'm more, I guess, old school. And so we have it's a contrast of two different kinds of artists.
Yeah.
And, where there's a lot of ideas about how the art, her art and my art, is also part of the show. We hope that this is, that people enjoy seeing. Sometimes we were doing sketches and things, and obviously I'm doing some sculptures, and I just about finished the sculpture right now. I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
Right on. Wow.
Oh, awesome.
Inspired by some of these, the basalt and the snowy, windy, crazy shapes that we saw.
Yeah.
Some of the snow and ice.
I was so terrified you were going to fall off of that basalt, man.
Yeah. And this is.
And that was day one of filming. I was like, if he busts his face open, this shoot is over.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the guy who like took us to the locations? Because that was amazing. The locations weren't just some places that we went to; they were like locations that we used for filming.
Great guy.
So Beggy. So there's our production manager, Beggy. He was a location manager for Game of Thrones. He was a location manager for a lot of stuff that's shot in Iceland. So yeah, those locations are. It's not the first time that a camera's been pointed at them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's great. And just as you were talking about your inspiration from things, it's amazing how creativity begets creativity. And so, Stefan, through his life, has been inspired by myth and lore and legend and all that stuff. And then he creates Dwarven Forge, which then I look at every Monday when I'm creating my stream, and that builds creativity. And then we present that. I mean, you can see the top of some Dwarven Forge castle pieces here on the table for Monday's stream. So it's just incredible how creativity just builds more creativity and gives birth to more creativity. It's pretty incredible.
You know, also the soundtrack is Josh's music. And he's inspired by all these things as a musician.
And how was that for you, Josh? Like, kind of digging into that.
Well, so the music, if you guys saw the Dwarvenaut, a lot of that music was from the Dwarvenaut, but and that's a whole other ballgame. That's a whole other story, you know. But I've always played guitar. I've always made music, and it's always been a dream of mine to be able to combine the films that I make with the music that I make, because it really creates the way that the whole thing feels. And for me, that's just kind of like my signature, like building an atmosphere and creating the emotion that goes along with it. So I just feel incredibly fortunate that I was given the opportunity to do that when we were making the Dwarvenaut, and then able to do it again when we did Destination Fantastic. And the fact that we were able to, so John Ashton from the Psychedelic Furs produced the soundtrack. And so we had some pretty amazing, it wasn't just me on guitar.
He added
Darrow Lee from Gang of Four played bass on that. And if anyone out there knows anything about music, that's kind of a big deal. Jerry Murata, who was Peter Gabriel's percussionist, did all of our percussion. Like John Ashton from Psychedelic Furs did all those ripping solos. I didn't do the solos. So it was really insane for me to, it's all my compositions and all my music, but to be in a studio with those people, and they're looking at me like, tell me what to do. I was like, I don't want to tell you what to do. I am nowhere near the level of craftsmanship that you bring to this. But I kind of had to, because I was the director and I wrote all the music. So it was an interesting learning experience for me. And also to work in a studio. I usually just play at my house, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I felt incredibly fortunate to have that opportunity.
Right at. Lion Blaze asks, having been on this trip, do you have a different perspective on the myths and stories derived from the Prose Edda now?
Yes. Yes.
Just, okay. Resounding yes all across.
I mean, all you have to do is open your eyes and look at the landscape, and it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. I understand why these people believed in frost giants. You know.
The clouds were always coming down and touching the mountains and touching. It always looked like some god was going to come out of the clouds and walk into the land. Yeah. I'm not joking. Like, it was like, wow. Everywhere you looked, you were in a myth. Fantasy.
It's amazing. Banshee asks, are there any historical mythical creatures you're hoping to dig into in the series?
All of them. All of them from every country. I mean, like we're inspired. You see in movies and cartoons and books, like tidbits of lore from all over the world, but to be able to focus on one country and go really deep into that lore, that's a dream come true.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I'm American, but I grew up in Belgium, and you know, Europe is full of gnomes are a big deal in Belgium and Holland. And in Germany, there's all kinds of. Japan has kappa, which I mean, if anyone knows anything about the kappa, those are really interesting.
Yeah, so Japan would be amazing.
Even here in the United States, I mean, the Indian stuff, like Native American stuff, is super inspiring. And it's all, it's at the root of it all. It's like the core of who we are. Like these things, or these traditions, these old stories, it's all these mythologies, you know, it's us into antiquity. And that's kind of what I've always envisioned for the show, you know?
Right on.
That's why we like Dungeons and Dragons and all these RPGs so much, is because all the mythology that's in it. That's one of the reasons we love it. And what was great about those the books is like Gygax put so many from different lands and countries and mixed them all into this monster manual. And you're like, what are these creatures? I never heard of these creatures before. And then you wanted to know about them. Yeah. And so that was part of the genius, is taking all these crazy creatures, putting them in a book. I'd never seen anything like that before.
It's amazing.
You know?
Josh, quick question from you from Grey Ghost. What camera did you use to film this?
I think that we used 2 FS7s, if I'm not mistaken. It was a 2-camera shoot, and we had a drone. We had a drone, and I swear to God, I didn't think that half of those drone shots were going to work out. Like it's insane. That the shot of the volcano was literally, we got out of that volcano. Mike put the drone up. That drone was only in the sky for 10 seconds before it came down. Like the wind was blowing so hard. And
wow.
So when we got home and I saw the footage, I was like, holy shit, it worked.
Yeah, I bet.
We did it.
One final question for you guys. What impact did the backers of the Kickstarter and the support that they were able to give you through this process, what does that mean to you guys? If you could put it into words about kind of this whole process and the end of the Kickstarter and filming it and then producing it and then editing it, what does that mean to you?
They really came through for us, and it showed that we had a community of people that wanted this to happen, and I think that was very influential on Legion M wanting to team up with us, and so we're very, very thankful, very happy. Thank you, full of gratitude, and let's take it all the way.
I love that there are other people in our community who see the value of understanding and learning and wanting to absorb more information about the things that we kind of glaze over, the mythology and the lore and the history of all these different cultures. Yeah. And it's so amazing that these are things that Josh, Stefan, and I are really passionate about, and now we know other people who are very passionate about this too, and so we can share that with them. We can have conversations outside of the show with all the people we meet at all the conventions, virtual or otherwise, about this kind of thing. And we've been able to meet other nerdy nerds, like not just entertainment geeks, but like lore nerds and dungeon masters. And now we get to talk about that and ask other people how, the environment that they're in inspires them. And so, yeah, it's just really, this all starts a conversation with even more like-minded niched people.
Yeah, it's awesome.
For me, as a filmmaker, it's always the big question is like, okay, but how are we going to pay for it? and it's like filmmakers, that's literally 90% of it's in your brain when you're trying to do this is like, how am I going to pay for it? And so the fact that the Kickstarter backers actually, that it funded and that happened and that we were able to do it, was, when I look at it now, I'm still in like disbelief. I was like, and I'm just incredibly thankful. I'm really, really, really grateful and thankful to everyone who pitched in. And I'm sorry that it took a while to get to this point for you guys to see it, but I hope that you understand that there are other things at play that are going to make it to where we can do a lot more of these. And just thank you for your patience.
That's awesome. All right, just to wrap it up, if you guys have some final thoughts on the process, on the experience, and some final kind of farewells.
I'd like to say one more thing.
Yeah, sure.
What we didn't mention, we haven't talked about, is we went to Thingvellir, where you met Hilmer, the old guy. That place right there is basically like it's where the very first Senate, like the idea of a Senate was held there.
Wow.
And it also is in that Asa Treu, which is basically like paganism. That's the birthplace of that. So that place that we were at was incredibly holy.
Yeah.
And breathtaking.
That's amazing.
And I wish we could have talked a little bit more about that, but I just hope that the spirituality, it was a very spiritual place, and that guy that we were with, like his aura was amazing, and I really tried to put a lot into to try and show that how incredible that guy was. It was insane.
This could have been 2 episodes. I mean, we shot so much that we didn't see anything of.
Yeah, this is definitely like, full days, multiple locations each day, and there's so much information. There's so much that didn't go into this that, I mean, every moment was mind-bogglingly beautiful. So hopefully somehow we can express all of this in very short episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was more than 6 days, right? I mean, this was like 8 or 9.
I was there for 5, so you guys were there for 3 extra days.
Okay, so I think we were. I think we were in Iceland. I think in total 10 days.
10 days, yeah. 10.
But we didn't shoot for 10 days. But anyway, that's a.
But I was cold for 10 days.
You were cold for 10 days. That is real.
Awesome. All right, Stefan, final thoughts.
No, thank you. What a great team and what a great backer support we had. And stay with us. We're hoping to get this more to come, and we're going to do more. And I'm okay to be cold again, or maybe next time we'll be hot. Who knows? Where we're gonna go, we don't know. Maybe we'll be on a camel next time, or even just go down to
Canada,
the Florida Keys.
We're going to the sandy beach.
There's the Frazetta Museum in Florida. Frank Frazetta.
Yeah.
All kinds of great places in America. The
That's
Frazetta
great.
girls invited us. Lots of great.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's real though. What he's saying is actually real.
That's great.
Nice Philippines, there's so many things on the table. And thank you. We got this far and we can keep going.
It's awesome. Satine.
Just a huge thank you to everyone who backed us. Like, your support means everything. And I can't wait to see what happens next and to kind of go along this ride with you guys. You guys are with us from the very beginning. And just keep saying hi online, keep in touch, because, none of us are living in a vacuum, even though we are in quarantine. We have a lot to say to each other, and a lot of storytellers need to keep communicating. Our show is one way, but we can actually keep the conversation going outside of this. So find us all at all of our social medias that are in these windows here. So say hi.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is a show for you guys, for us, the geeks. This is a show for geeks. That's what I want to say. That this is like, we want to explore all those geeky places, all the stuff, that kind of stuff, you know?
It's awesome. It's awesome. Josh.
I don't know if I have any other final thoughts other than to just say thank you for everyone who backed us. And the idea really is, it's not just it's art. It's art in all of its forms, in storytelling, sculpture, filmmaking, music, like everything all those things that spoke to you when you were a kid, like those are the things that we're going after. So
it's awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for your support in making this happen, of course. It's been a blessing and an honor to be a part of this, both personally and as Realmsmith, and we're so glad to have supported you through this and being able to host tonight. Go ahead.
I'd like to give a special thank you to David Baxter at Legion M.
Yep.
And to everyone at Legion M, Terry Luberoff, Jeff, everyone else there, everyone. I can't say what's going on, but there's good stuff going on.
That's great.
And Jason, to you too. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
We play D&D with them. We play D&D.
Yeah. And to Ron, who's also on the call. He's
Producer Ron is here.
All of us.
Yeah.
And to my crew. I'd like to say thank you to my crew. Everyone worked their butts off.
Mike Gomes. And to Hawkwind, which I discovered Josh played Hawkwind. I learned about this band on these long treks on the highway.
And while we're doing things, huge thank you to Alan Amato, who put together all the photos and the posters, and was traveled with us as a photographer this whole time as well. That was
nice
he made us
guy.
look super good.
He was always there taking shots all the time. You don't see him in the video, but he's there taking photos.
Yeah.
It's great. All right, where do people stay up to date with what's going on? I'm assuming the Kickstarter is a place to kind of keep up to speed on future developments and so on with the series?
I would say keep your eyes on the website. Keep your eyes on all of our social medias.
Spread the word.
Yeah, and just hold on. We don't.
Be helpful. If you all say, "Hey, I saw that episode finally, but it was awesome," would help.
That's really great. All right, guys, thanks so much. You guys have a wonderful night during this time in COVID. Just make sure that you love each other and that you share experiences like this with each other. We all need something to kind of keep our minds healthy and strong. If you know that there are people out there who are alone or sad or anything like that, make sure, or even if you don't know if they are, just reach out to people, love on people. I miss you guys. I cannot wait until we can sit around a table again at a show sometime soon. But here's to hoping that
Virtual GaryCon is coming soon.
I know. I'm very excited. Can't wait. All right, guys. You guys have a good night. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for watching.